I was very fortunate to grow up in a Christian home where it was just emphasized that we were going to go to church on Sunday. We were going to be involved. I got saved at a young age, but something that was always there was this battle against anxiety and panic. I got diagnosed in 3rd grade with generalized anxiety disorder and an acute panic disorder. Just began fighting it everywhere I went. Seeing a therapist, having medication, at times seeing dips in it, but for the most part, it was very much influencing how I lived my life. And when I started coming to Harvest, I hadn't been going to church. Colin Bright had told me that his brother Alec was preaching at Harvest and I should check it out. And I had known Alec from playing golf with him at Hope. And so I was like, okay, yeah, I'll go support Alec. I didn't know that I was going to be kind of drawn in just by the whole methodology of Harvest, which was we're going to preach to you what the gospel says. And that was something that I remember thinking like, okay, why wasn't I taught this already? Basically started 2020 off with being involved at Harvest and getting to know people. One of the people that I started to develop a relationship with was Chris Moeller. We sat down and had coffee. The anxiety was right there with me. I was shaking. I was very, very anxious about meeting somebody new. Up until that point, I had taken medication whenever I met somebody new because I didn't want to have a panic attack in front of them. And for whatever reason before this, I decided I wasn't going to do that. I thought we were just going to get together and, have a chat about drums and whatever else. I didn't think it was going to turn into revealing my struggles with him. And he started to challenge me that anxiety is not just a battle between me and my brain. It is a spiritual battle. It wasn't until then that I started to bring it to the light. I had always kept it separate, thought it was just something that I wrestled with, and that was something to be hidden from people. I felt unclean for having it and for struggling with it. And later that night, I had the worst panic attack of my life. When I get a panic attack, I get extremely nauseous. I get very, very hot. The world seems so large and so terrifying. And it's just this unfiltered fear. I had been coming to Harvest for a little over a month and a half and was serving and was getting to know people that were pointing me to the gospel and towards surrendering my struggles to Christ. And then I was just hit with this wave of anxiety, this panic attack that I have no doubts now is from the enemy. In that evening, thought it might be possible to end my life because I just wanted those feelings of fear to stop. My dad was there and I said to him, hey, I just want it to end. He looked at me and that was the most fear I have ever seen in that man's eyes. And that scared me even more. I said, hey, do we need to go to the hospital? Do we need to check you in somewhere and make sure you're safe? And that thought scared me more and I was just spiraling. Ultimately made the decision not to go to the hospital, went up to my room and forced myself to go to sleep. Each day, it was hard to get out of bed. It was hard to get myself to eat. I went from 215 pounds to 185 pounds in a month. And each day was a fresh dose of fear. I was afraid of going out and talking to people. What if I had another panic attack? Felt like I had to regiment my day and distract myself because I couldn't get my mind off of that thought of ending my life that I had during that panic attack. I remember at that point, I just started reading my Bible every day, feeding myself scripture. I think it was 4 days after the panic attack, I was scheduled to play drums at high school ministry for the first time. Sent Al a text message saying, hey man, I don't think I can do this. I'm still shaking. I can hardly eat. I don't really want to leave my house. And I was like, it's okay. We can find another drummer. I'm praying for you. I didn't know that he went and texted Chris. And I had only, again, had one conversation with Chris before in my life. He reaches out and sends me this long text message and basically saying, I know this is hard, but don't let the enemy win this. You are giving him a foothold in your life that will be so much harder to deal with if you don't go do this, even though it seems like just one event. Go play drums. It will be okay. Who is this guy that he thinks he can just, come in and tell me what to do? I don't even know him that well. That thought lasted for maybe a couple seconds and it was immediately replaced by, wow, he had the heart to reach out to me and challenge me in that moment, even though he didn't really know me that well. That's something I haven't experienced before. And so I went and I played and had a great night of worship. And COVID hit and everything closed down. I don't know when the pandemic's going to end. I don't know when things are going to open up again. It was all on me. I couldn't go meet with people, so I found peace in going out and going for runs and going out and going for hikes. In that whole season, I was learning what it looked like to surrender fear and struggle and stronghold in my life to Christ, which is something I hadn't done before. I felt completely at the mercy of God. There had been so much growth in that season of feeling like I was just trying to survive. That summer, just some monumental steps were taken. One of the biggest being I got baptized. Really began this climb out of this valley that I had been in of just constantly being afraid. And that's been a slow climb, a very slow climb at times. 2 Corinthians, it talks about because God has comforted us, we are to comfort others with the comfort we ourselves have been shown. And that's been something that I've been realizing more and more each day with my battle with anxiety and panic, which is still very present. It's still something that I deal with constantly and will probably have to deal with for the rest of my life. While it would be awesome if he took panic and anxiety away from me, that's not necessarily the best that he can do with it. He can do something greater. I mean, I'm on a completely different track than I was 2.5 years ago. I'm, a grad student at Moody getting my master's degree in biblical studies, like looking to go into ministry and specifically discipleship and counseling. I don't know how God took this thing that still terrifies me and has turned it into something where I want to use it to honor and glorify him and his kingdom, but he has.